American Gunfighter Podcast. Hosted by your instructors from Ghost Ring Tactical. With their combined experience in the military, law enforcement, firearms instructing industry, and security, they'll be discussing tactics, training, firearms, and equipment to help you become an even better American gunfighter.
Hey, Nick Rians here, and welcome to the American Gunfighter Podcast. I am here with Micah Noe, and I'm also accompanied by Chad Caudy. This is our first podcast. We did have a podcast in the past, but we're reviving it. Within this podcast, we're going to be talking about firearms. We're going to be talking about tactics. We're going to be talking about training. And one of the big things we're going to be doing is we're going to be inviting our students on as guests on the show to ask us questions that we can answer right here on the show. We're going to be having a audio version of our podcast, and if that's not enough for you, you can watch our video version and really get to see what we're about on our YouTube channel. Yeah? You guys ready for this? Our first topic that we're going to be covering tonight and is going to be our weapon of choice for home defense. All right. So I'll take this first question. So my weapon of choice used to be for home defense used to be a shotgun. Okay. And the reason that the shotgun was my weapon of choice was mainly on my house setup. All right. So before I moved out here to New Mexico, out in the middle of nowhere, I lived in California, and my house layout was that I had a long hallway, and I had my bedroom on one side of the hallway, and all three of my kids' bedrooms were on the right side of the hallway. So it was a very easy house to defend. So for me, if we ever got an intruder in the house, I would grab my shotgun. That was my weapon of choice. And I would post up at my door and aim my weapon down the long hallway, call out to the intruder that I'm coming to get him, whatever it may be. And then let him know I'm calling the cops. Wife would be calling the cops, all that good stuff. So, that setup would work great for me because, again, I have my kids right across the hall. I could call them over to my room. We could basically barricade inside the room. So, yes, I said I'd call off to the intruder that I'm coming to get them. But if you've been through any CQB type training, it's a lot better to sit and wait in a defensive position than to go hunting and possibly make a mistake and put yourself in a vulnerable position. So that was my weapon of choice with that house setup. Okay. So now with my new house setup, my house is 102 feet long, and my bedroom is on one side of the house, and all of my kids are on the complete opposite side of the house. So my weapon of choice has changed. The reason for this is that if an intruder actually got into my house and was able to get to my kids' rooms without me getting to them first, I'm going to need something that I can take a more accurate shot with. So my go-to now is my carry gun. All right. My carry gun, I train a lot. I've got a lot of time behind that carry gun. I'm very comfortable with that weapon system. And let's say an intruder got in, grabbed one of my daughters hostage. I am confident I could take that hostage shot, that headshot, that accurate headshot with that weapon system. So that is now my go-to weapon of choice is actually my carry pistol.
So for my setup, I still run a shotgun.
Yep.
I use a Remington 870 tactical. And the way that my house is set up is, again, that same long corridor that runs back to the master bedroom. Very rarely, my children don't live with me. They're grown. My son comes and visits maybe 4 times a year, and then he will have his pistol in his room. And the way that the hallway is set up and the way that the front door feeds into the house, there's no less than 6 pieces of drywall and then an exterior wall to my closest neighbor, and then straight down across the street for the other neighbors. So I'm less concerned about overpenetration. And again, right, just like you said, the staying back in the bedroom. I carry or I keep the shotgun in what's known as the cruiser ready or the half load. I'm not an advocate or a fan of the racking of the shotgun to scare somebody. But based on how I keep it loaded, you do rack it to put a round in the chamber. I can also control all the lights via my phone in my house. So I do not have a light on my shotgun. I can just turn all the lights on in the house, which that alone hopefully should be enough. Like, oh shit, I just kicked this door in. All the lights just came on in the house. Obviously someone's here. Obviously they're aware I'm here. So that alone should be a deterrent as well. And again, I've got my phone because the next step is calling 911, right? Yes, I am my first responder, but I want professionals on the way to, clean up the mess. And then I do have my carry pistol in my room as well, but that is a secondary measure.
Okay.
And then, that's my setup.
Okay. What's your loadout? What ammo do you use?
So I use the Hornady Critical Defense in the shotgun. And I think it's like 3 rounds of double-aught buck or 3 pellets of double-aught buck. There's like a copper disc and like 3 more rounds of double-aught buck. So it's like a combo we used to call a combat cocktail in that one single shell. And then I've got a side saddle with 9 more shells on it. So 8 in the tube and then 9 on the side. And then in my pistol, I use the Hornady Critical Duty. Okay. So that's more the barrier blind type ammo.
Okay. Yeah, I've got the critical defense in my carry gun that I would use for. So yeah. All right, good. Chad, let's hear your side of this.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of in the same situation as Nick is with the way my house is set up. You walk into the front door where there's a foyer. On the right side, there are 2 bedrooms and a bathroom as well. My child stays in one of the rooms. Then you walk through the living room, and our master bedroom is on the back side of the house. Okay. In the CD corner of the house. So I kind of adopted after we had talked a while back about maybe running an AR platform, just due to the possibility of somebody breaking into that front door and grabbing my child is pretty likely if that ever happens. To where I can take that shot more better than I would be able to probably with a pistol at that range. So like I said, I switched to that. I always just kind of ran with my pistol. In that I'm running the Hornady Critical Defense. I'm running the 115 grain. But in my AR, I had switched to like frangible rounds because the way my house is set up, we live in a neighborhood, so there's a house directly across the street. So I don't want them to over penetrate and have an issue, with backdrop and stuff like that. So,
yeah. All right, good deal.
So I do actually have a question for you guys, just while we're on this topic, talking about over penetration and things like this. So I'm hearing accurate shots. If I need to be able to take that, right? Over penetration is going to be a consideration as well. What are your guys' thoughts, or have you thought at all about something like a pistol caliber carbine?
Okay.
Right. So like a 9mm AR platform, right? We should all be very, very familiar with working, the order of operations for an AR. Yep. But now I've got that same 124 grain, 125 grain critical defense in a potentially, 7-inch barrel, 10-inch barrel versus a 4 to 5-inch barrel on a pistol. I can shoulder it. I've got an optic, something along those lines.
Then you're going to remember your offset.
Yeah, obviously.
So
obviously.
that was something I thought about too. It's like in that stressful situation that you might be at that 10 yards, the 7 yards, something like that matters on, hey, what am I going to zero this at?
Especially for home defense, right?
Yes,
Maybe I zeroed it.
Maybe
5
I
yards.
zeroed it. At 7, 10, 5, something like that. So then I don't have to worry about that. But that was one of the first things that popped into my head was like, ooh, am I going to remember if I need to take this headshot? Am I going to remember that mechanical offset to make sure I don't put one into my child as well? But again, if it's only going to be used for home defense, then that is I think it's it's an option. It's definitely an option. Yeah.
You're already in a highly stressful situation. You gotta love this guy. A highly stressful situation, and then to remember, like you said, to hold that offset. That's we talked today about how your mind how things change when you get in them highly stressful situations for the medical stuff, and just to make that adjustment. And it's one thing to be on duty or out in the public when you're dealing with a stranger that's coming up on you, as opposed to, or holding somebody, as opposed
Someone
to like
holding your
member.
child hostage.
That's a whole nother level, man. That's a whole nother level. Yeah.
Dead sleep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Am I going to take that, just me thinking, am I even going to take this shot? I don't know.
You better be on your A game.
Yes.
Like we were talking about today on the range, like, oh, it's my first shot of the day. Like, yeah, man. Like
that's what it's going to be.
Sometimes that's what it's going to be.
Yes.
So.
All right, good. All right, anything else you guys to add before we? All right, cool. All right, guys, we're going to welcome our first student to the show. It is Mark Chrisman. Okay, so Mark, what question do you have for us today?
Good evening, guys. I wanted to ask Nick what inspired him to start Ghost Ring Tactical, and once he decided to start it, how did he go about selecting his instructors to help build his brand?
All right, a direct question to me. Wow. Man. All right. So, how did I come up with the company? So I bought a ton of acreage out here in New Mexico, and I first bought this property as retirement property. I had no plans on doing a business out here, zero. I bought the property. The wife, gave me my timeline of we're not moving out there for 10 years. So I was like, well, shit. Okay, well, what can I do with this land to possibly make some money so it's not just sitting there doing nothing until we decided to move out here, right? So I'd been teaching firearms, since 2005, been teaching for a long time. And I wasn't teaching at the time that we bought this property. And I was like, hey, why not start teaching firearms out here? So I had no idea how it was going to go. I came up with the idea. I had actually had our company name. I bought our company name, the actual .com, back in, I think 2010, something like that, about years ago. And I had no idea what I was going to do with it. I just bought the .com. And then I bought this land, decided to start doing firearms out here. So I'm like, cool, now I can use this .com I bought. Developed the website. Started to market the class. We got, I forgot how many people signed up for our first class. It was like 10 or 15 people. I can't remember. I have to go back and look. Instructors wise, I actually hired on the guy that ran the SWAT team. So actually one of the SWAT teams that I was the entry coach for, I actually had him come out. He was head of the SWAT team. He came out to teach. He had a friend that taught martial arts. So he introduced me to him. And then we brought them out. We taught that first class. Okay. So after the first class, they quit. They're like, they were a little bougie. They didn't like being out in the dirt, and I really hope they're not listening to this. But they had to stay at a hotel. They wouldn't stay here on property. Again, we didn't have power at the time. We had porta shitters. It was pretty. It was pretty caveman like when we first started. But yeah, and then they're like, oh yeah, this is that was a fun class, but we're done. We don't want to teach anymore. So then after that, I started looking at some of my old military friends. Found some of my old military guys that wanted to train with us or to teach with me. So we hired on Romeo Santiago. He came on. So me and him taught classes for a while, and then we kept growing and growing. So we had to start bringing on more instructors. So before I started this company, I had a fitness company, and one thing I found out within my fitness company when it came to hiring on staff was that it was much better to hire from within than to hire from outside. Sure. Okay. So I used that same tactic when I started looking for instructors here. So I started looking at the instructors that were high performers in class, the guys that could shoot really well, the guy that had good tactics, and eventually started offering jobs, or most of these guys came to me. And most of the guys that are currently here, Micah, Chad, both of these guys here, both actually came to me and said, or they actually went to my other instructors because they were too intimidated to come directly to me. So I found out they wanted to work, and then usually I would basically just throw them right under the bus, like, cool, I'll put you on next month's class. Hopefully you can make it. Yeah. And it kind of went from there. Yeah. So I really wanted to test out their how much they really wanted to be here by just being like, yeah, show up for class and we'll see how well you teach. Yeah. Well, Chad was a whole nother story where I think the instructor backed out. Yeah, the instructor backed out, and Chad, you were coming as a student, right?
No, I was just coming to hang out.
Oh, okay. Oh, just a shadow. Okay. Yeah, and then so I told Chad like a week before, probably like 3 days before, I said, Chad, you're teaching. I go, the other instructor canceled. He can't make it. I hope you're ready.
Yeah, it's getting shorter and shorter, the amount of time that new instructors have before they have to teach. I think I had a good 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
I think I came to you in like April, and you're like, okay, we're May. And then DJ, one of our precision rifle instructors, I think he had like 2 days,
basically.
3 days. Yeah, we're like, hey, so this next class is on Wednesday. It's Sunday. Can you be back out here from Seattle on Wednesday to help teach?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a test of their commitment to see how well they do the trial by fire. Okay. But again, everyone has done well. Everyone has done well. We don't try to set people up for failure, even when they come out to for their first time teaching. Other than probably Chad, I can't teach medical, so that was all him. But for most of the other instructors for firearm stuff, we'll help them out. We just had another, Ryan, one of our new instructors, taught for the first time last week. I sat with him with every station he did. Did he start strong? No, not at all. He demoed a drill. He did the drill once, missed. He said, "Oh, let me do it again." I was like, "Okay, do it again." Did it again, missed again. I'm like, ah. And he's like, one more time. I'm like, how many times is he going to embarrass himself in front of the students before he gets this right? But they're nervous. Okay. They've got the boss staring at them. They're teaching in front of these students for the very first time. Now they need to perform, okay, in front of everyone. And usually what they do is they try to go too fast. They're like, I need to impress these people. They move too fast, and they're just not, they don't do what they need to do. He recovered after that. So after he did the first group and looked miserable, the second and third group that he taught, he was dead on. He was impressive. I told him, like, just relax, and you'll do fine. His first time instructing up in front of people, completely botched it. And I'm there to let him know that he completely botched it. But the second and third time that he taught,
in a very loving tone.
Yes, I let him know immediately. I'm like, that was wrong. You're wrong. Let me fix you. And then the second or third time that he taught, he had it. Okay, so it's yes, we're gonna push you hard here as staff, but it's up to you to be able to adapt and make those changes. And everybody that we have brought on has been able to do that. They've been able to do it.
Hey, Ryan, don't worry, buddy. I do that every camp, like every weekend. So you're good, man.
So
it's nerve-wracking as a student sometimes when you're in front of an instructor for the first time. So I can imagine what it's like being an instructor and having that whole class in front of you.
Yes. So, yes, you need to be able to perform on demand when it's called out. So, do we make mistakes? Sure, we make mistakes. It happens, but it's a lot of pressure, especially for a new instructor, to be able to perform like that and not mess up. So I mean, the big answer is, when it comes to staff, I try to hire from within. So I try to hire guys that are former students. They understand what we do here. They understand how we run stuff here. They understand me kind of and how I try to lead everyone. We've tried to hire people from the outside, and none of them have ever worked out. They don't. They They just don't understand kind of what we're doing here, and they just don't. I don't know what it is. I mean, what do you guys have anything? Why do you guys think that these outside instructors don't tend to make it? Do they not?
You really want my opinion?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they just probably too thin skinned.
Okay.
Kind of a bunch of bitches, maybe. I don't know.
Wow. All right.
I mean, to be honest, I mean, because you gotta have you gotta kind of have some thick skin. But it's like anywhere
Yes.
else. It's like the fire station.
Yeah.
I'm sure. The military the same way. It's just the mentality that we have.
Yeah.
And how we roll. It's just you got to have that thick skin, man. And you can't if you get your balls busted, there's no safe space. You just got to deal with it and laugh at it. Because if you stop busting my balls, I get worried.
You should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
You should be.
I'm like, oh man.
Yeah. That means you really did something
I really
wrong.
fucked up. If Nick's not busting my balls and yelling at me sometimes, I get worried. But it's all in love. It is. Man.
It is.
It really is. So you got to have just a certain personality, and even though guys have been, ex-military and ex or PD and stuff like that.
Yeah, law enforcement.
It still doesn't mean they can deal with that. People are just different,
Yes.
and we're different than a lot of other people.
Yeah.
We're just kind of a different breed.
I think a lot of times, if they don't come from a military background, if they don't come from a fire department, law enforcement, something where there's a community amongst the coworkers, I think they struggle. Yeah. I think they struggle. Micah.
So first of all, I just have to we have to patent the mentality. I don't know if that was a real world or you just said it wrong. I think you were trying to say mentality, but he said mantality. Yeah, no, I feel like mantality. We should probably,
I like that. I like that
we
word.
should probably copyright that for ourselves. Yeah. I think, and especially for me when I came on board, it's the buy-in, right? If you haven't been here and you haven't taken at least one or two classes, you don't have the buy-in, right? We don't. It's more difficult to sort of pick up on the vision of what we're trying to do and the way we do things. Personally, I think we have a very unique approach to how we teach and the way that our backgrounds blend and what we bring to our students based on all of our experiences. And it's not very common. It's not a very common thing. I've been to tons of other schools and tons of other places that teach stuff. And I think that if you come here as a student and you believe enough in what we're doing that you want to come work here, I think that's the piece. I think that's the piece that's missing when it's just, oh, that sounds cool. Let me go teach there. And you're like,
let me go get a paycheck or something.
Right. If you're just doing it for the money. And again, none of us will tell Nick this out loud. I would do this for free. I mean,
holy shit.
We can cut that out in post-production. Yeah. But that's the level that we have, right? And everyone here, we go above and beyond. It's not just, and again, that's one of our unique things is that it's not just the show up at the range at 8:00, shoot till 5, see ya, we'll talk to you later, right? It's 24 hours. We're here for the full 4 days, right? We're cooking with you, we're eating with you, we're hanging out, we're telling stories around the fire pit. And that really builds in that camaraderie. It builds in that brotherhood, that kind of like that Nick's talking about. And I think that not only shows in our instructors, but I think it shows in our students as well. I think that's why we have so many return students.
Yes.
And some of them just come back for the camaraderie and the stories. And like the shooting is just a bonus. Like the learning and the shooting, that's just extra. The good food, the hanging around the fire pit and telling stories and all that stuff, I think is a lot of people don't get that, in their professional world, in their home life, whatever. Like you can come here and be part of the brotherhood and be part of what we have and what we share. And I think that really, for those people who really want it, can come in and be part of that group and be an instructor. Yeah.
It is definitely what keeps you coming back as a student. This is my 4th time back, and you know what I think of you and your instructors. I wouldn't keep coming back, right? But not only are you guys excellent instructors, it is that philosophy of almost family and camaraderie you have when you arrive here and hang out and share meals and trade stories, and that's what really, it's great. It's great.
And now come on podcasts.
And to kind of run on what Micah said, the world now is so like the masculinity is just at an all-time low, and it's hard to find those like-minded people in your area a lot of times. So you do come out here and you do become a part of a tribe, and like people really, I know men like right now really they're hunting for that.
Yeah.
It's like, it's something that we need. We need, iron sharpens iron, and we need to have these communities to be able to come out and help each other. Cause I mean, I get as much out of y'all as students, every class, so, and to talk about what Mike was, I obviously gave the knuckle dragger, answer that question about, they're just kind of, maybe they need to be tougher or whatever. And Micah gives a very cerebral answer to that last question. So, you see, absolutely, yeah. So, and this is why, I think this is why we work together so well, because we're just so well-rounded, you know.
Yeah. So, so good. Does that answer your question, Mark?
Yes, sir, it does.
All right, sir. Well,
Thank you so much.
thanks for being on the show, sir. All right, you guys, welcome to the show. Our next guest, Tom White. Tom White, shake my hand here, sir. Thank you. Thank you for bringing on the show. Yeah. So, Tom, go ahead and ask us what your question is.
So my question has to do with maintaining proficiency in between coming to camps. For example, if somebody comes and takes an urban tactics class, which I think is perhaps the most relevant class that you guys offer to concealed carriers, I would encourage anybody to take that urban tactics 1. We're currently in urban 2, which is also really good, but urban 1's the one to. If you could only pick one class, that'd be the one I'd recommend. And I have people talk to me, ask me questions. How often should I shoot to maintain skills? I'm a teacher, but I also work at Cabela's, so I have customers come in all the time, buy guns, buy ammo, stuff like this. And what I see is that people shoot far less frequently than they should, and they shoot too much. They kind of overdo it. It's like a carnival ride. It's not a skills maintenance session. And so my question kind of to the group is, how often and for what duration and how much do you think people should be practicing to maintain those excellent skills that they learn at one of your urban tactics classes? Thanks.
All right. Do you guys want me to take this question first? Okay, sure. Okay. So how often should they train? That's a tough question. Like we preach in a lot of our classes, a lot of stuff that we teach can be done in a dry fire setting. You don't always have to do stuff live fire. Yes, when it comes to recoil management and all that kind of stuff, yes, that has to be done in a live fire setting. But if you are getting in, let's say 5 to 10 minutes of dry fire, if you could do 5 to 10 minutes dry fire daily, that's awesome. That is not the normal person. It really isn't. If you could get in 5 to 10 minutes 3 times a week, you're getting there. You're getting closer. Okay. But honestly, most people, they don't do any dry fire. They really don't. We preach it all the time, but most people just don't do it. We had this discussion, at debrief today after class. And I think if people just figured out a way to have a set schedule where it's like, hey, I'm going to do, this amount of dry fire, if we could do it into daily, your daily schedule, awesome. But I know realistically, a lot of people just can't do it. So we talked about, during debrief today, that if you carry concealed, okay, before I leave for the day, okay, but when I'm putting my gun on, let me get in, 5 to 10 draws, before I go out. Okay. I'm trying to make it realistic for people. All right. If you're able to get in more than that, that's awesome. But if you're only able to get in these dry fire draws, maybe practicing some reloads before you head out for the day, then hey, then get that done. When it comes to your live fire training, if you can get out once a month, awesome. Now, when it comes to going out once a month, that's critical on figuring out what you are going to do before you get there. So have a list of drills hey, these are the 5 drills I want to work on. I always get my son, he'd always, when we go out to shoot, he's like, I want to go shoot, Dad. I'm like, okay, cool. What are we going to work on? I just want to shoot the 308. I just want to shoot this. I'm like, no, all that is wasting ammo. I'm like, what are we training? With every round coming out of my weapon, how am I using this to make myself better? Not just shooting the round. Okay. So anytime I'm about to head up the range, going live fire, again, I'm not just going out there to shoot rounds out of my gun. I have some sort of purpose for every round that comes out of there. Am I working reloads? Am I working trigger control? Am I, what is it that I'm working? I usually have baseline drills that I do, and I record the times as well. So I can go back to, okay, my one speed reload one, what is my base timeline on that? And let me see if I can beat that today. Just right before class here, I was working on just my basic, how fast can I draw my weapon out and get 1 round on? How fast can I draw out and do the hammer drill? So 5 rounds on steel. And then I was working some reloads as well. So just having a plan before you hit the range, so you're not just wasting ammo and blasting through 100 rounds. Like, what did I train today? Have a plan. So that's once a month, okay, if possible, with live fire, dry fire. If you can get in 3 days a week, awesome. But if not, at least get in some draws before we leave the house with our weapon. Micah.
So I think a lot of good things, right? We could have an entire podcast just on this one topic. So you said a lot. You made a lot of good points there. A couple of things to think about, right? Is that one, like you said, it's difficult to integrate that into your day-to-day life. So I think a lot of people also tend to try and bite off more than they can chew. Like, this is my one chance to get to the range this month, this week, this whatever. I'm gonna do all of it. I'm gonna get all this done, right? And then I make expensive noise, and that's really all I do.
Yeah.
Another point too is that, right, when you talk about having a specific drill, my preference is to have a particular skill that I'm working on, and what drills can I do that reinforce that skill set that I'm practicing. And I know that's something we're putting together.
Yep.
Even right now, our level tests, right, is a perfect example. So many things that we do in this, shooting world or whatever, you can focus on 4 or 5 different skills on the exact same drill, right? The draw 1, reload 1. Okay, am I working on the proficiency of my draw on this? Am I working on the proficiency of my reload? Am I working on my trigger press and reset? Am I working on my sight picture? I can work on so many different things on just that one drill, and I'm getting those reps in. I think and this comes from the occupational background, we talked about this earlier today, is we are creatures of habit and routine.
Yes.
And if it's not something that's built already into my routine or my habit, it's going to be very difficult for me to find, quote unquote, that extra time. We all have extra time. Look, let's not lie to ourselves about how busy we are.
Yeah.
The first thing that we usually tell students, like, I'm just too busy. No, you're just disorganized. Like,
you have bad time management.
Right. Terrible time management.
Yeah.
And so, just like Nick was saying, when I put my gun on, great. I've just bought myself 30 seconds of practice, right? 30 seconds, 7 days a week is way more time than I've done not doing anything. And so I think trying to find those spaces in my routine to integrate what I'm doing when I put my gun on, when I take my gun off, even going to the range, right? Just the prep. Hey, I'm going to prep on Monday. I'm going to think about on Monday for 5 minutes what I want to do this weekend when I go to the range. You know what? I'm going to work on my trigger reset. That's all I'm going to do at the range today. 100 rounds, 200 rounds, great. Wednesday. Okay, putting my gear away. Hey, by the time I've got my bag packed and everything, I got my gun, let me get a few dry fire draws working in there. Let me work on that. Oh, yes, this is my trigger reset. Here we go. Sure. Friday, the day before I'm going out, right? I'm putting my concealed carry on. Good. Now this is what it's going to look like. This is what it's going to feel like tomorrow. This is how I'm going to practice this. And then Saturday, when I have that time to myself, I've already got 3 dry fire sessions in the same week, just getting ready to go to the range on that Saturday. So I think that's a really big one, is be honest with yourself about how much time you have. And even 30 seconds, that's 30 seconds more than I had if I didn't do it. And by the time you're there, you already, I've had 15, 20, 30 reps by the time I get to the range. And it's not a Monday where I'm like, hey, I'm going to get to the range on Saturday. And then by Saturday, it's the first time I've touched my gun by the time I get to the range. And I don't even know what I'm doing.
And I think a lot of people, when it comes to like the dry fire stuff, I think they think they need to do too much. Like, hey, I need to get an hour of dry fire. No, you don't need to get an hour dry. Like, give you 5 to 10 minutes. That's fine. That's fine. And then you get your hour of dry fire in, and then you do it once every 2 months. It's like, come on. Yeah.
So I think to that point is that consistency
yes.
pays higher dividends than volume.
Yes.
If I spend 1 hour in a day of the week, as opposed to 15 minutes, 7 days that week, that consistency is going to pay much higher dividends than I'm crushing it this Saturday, 500 rounds at the range, and I'm exhausted. And by like round
You're
200,
not learning anything.
I'm like, it's not good, but it's my one day I get to go to the range. And then you screw it all away and just have spent a lot of money on a lot of noise.
Yeah. Hi, Chad. Talk to us.
You know, I think the thing is, don't make stuff too complicated. Like, it don't have to be crazy, you know, training, you know, run and gun and shooting it, you know, just do basic shit. Like Nick was talking about, I would just practice my draw stroke and reloads. Like if you go to the range and that's what you do and you do shot, reload, you know, just keep it simple. You know, you don't have to go crazy. Then from like a medical standpoint, you know, like I just have a tourniquet laying on the island in the house, and you walk by it a couple times a day, put it on. You know, my wife knows how to do it. He'll be 5, but my 5-year-old knows how to do it. You know, so we kind of make it a family thing. You know, and he don't really exactly know what's going on, but you know, I mean, he can put it on, and but I think just like they were saying, using that little bit of time that you have. Me personally, like, you know, drawing and draw strokes and dry fire stuff. Again, we were talking about this earlier today in debrief. You know, every time I put my gun on, you know, I'm typically wearing different shirts and stuff like that. So, you know, your garment is going to make a difference in, you know, your draw stroke. Your button downs that you wear hanging out tend to grab on your butt. At least they do mine. When I go to
You gotta have a butt, sir. Yeah, you do. I don't know about Tom over
Squats.
here.
Squats, bro. Squats. But, you know, every piece of garment reacts differently and has different catch points. So, you know, when I put my clothes on and put my gun on, you know, I'll do 5 draws just to see, and that's getting my draw stroke done, just to see like how my garment's going to react and what I need to do if there's any issues to overcome that. So.
I just wanted to add real quick too on that. I think Chad made a really good point, and to add on to the consistency thing and the integration is that carrying a gun every day is a lifestyle change, right?
Yes.
All of my pants, one size too big, because now I've got, you know, 2.5 inches in extra in that waistband, right? My belt choice, significantly different. My overgarment choice, significantly different. So if you're already making all these changes to integrate carrying a firearm into your life, that dry fire and that live fire needs to be part of that integration. I can't just go buy a gun, throw it in my pants, and like, I'm good, which you'll find as soon as you first start carrying, right? And we've all got tons of boxes of crappy holsters and shitty belts and like all kinds of stuff, right? So and part of coming to a class like this is we try and shorten that learning curve, save you a little bit of money, right? Kind of show you what we do. Like it's no accident that the majority of the instructors, in fact, I think all of the instructors wear the same concealed carry holster and belt for the most part, right? And so I think we don't take that full step, right? It's like, I'm going to buy this gun. Oh crap, none of my pants fit, right? Or I'm going to buy this pant. Oh, my belt's floppy. I'm going to get this belt. It is a lifestyle change. It is a commitment to purpose. And that dry fire and that live fire practice is part of that.
That's what I try to explain to people when they come in and buy a firearm from me is that, you know, this is your watch, this is your cell phone, this is your wallet, this is who you are now, and that it's not, buying a gun is not a good luck charm, it's not a talisman. You need to train with it, you need to seek training. I always recommend you guys, and but it's something that you have to incorporate into your daily living skills, and it is a lifestyle change. And it's, you know, I say, you know, this is, you know, the thing that's potentially going to save your life. So, you know, make sure it fits your hand, make sure you can operate it, and then incorporate that practice into it as a part of your life. So. Yeah,
and it's something too. I mean, you think about it as we grow up, right? At some point, we all started carrying a wallet, right? And I remember forgetting my wallet constantly, and then at some point, we start having to be responsible for car keys, and maybe I wear a watch, right? Everyone carries their phone. So it's just one more piece to that puzzle, like you're talking about, right? This is not some magic talisman that I just have and here we go, I'm safe, we're good to go, right? It's gonna be that daily thing, and it's just that next step in the, you know, I'm carrying a wallet, I'm carrying car keys, I'm carrying a gun. Yeah.
All right, good. All right. Well, appreciate you coming on the show, Tom. Yeah. So hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you guys have any questions that you guys would like for us to answer, please comment on this podcast. Email us. You can email me at nick@ghostringtactical.com or go on to our website at ghostringtactical.com and you can fill out our contact form. But we'd love to hear any questions that you would like to for us to answer here on the show. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for listening to the American Gunfighter Podcast. Be sure to listen next week. And please don't forget to leave us a review. Also, if there's a topic you'd like us to look into, please be sure to leave a comment.